Hey guys, I've just gotten back from a weekend trip to Adelaide to celebrate my 30th birthday with friends and family. And what better way to celebrate my birthday than going to the footy and watching Port Adelaide get a comfortable 13-point win over the Western Bulldogs to finally get us our third win of the year and keep a slim finals chance alive for the girls. As you might notice, I went to the Port store and I now officially have an AFLW jumper now on display. In fact, it's not any AFLW jumper, it is number 22, which is a very fitting jumper because our beloved Lauren Young, whose father apparently is a big fan of this channel, by the way, so shout out to him. And, right, so we're talking about Lauren Young. Yeah, so Lauren Young finally got a goal! And not only that, it was right in front of me. Like, I'll cue the replay. All right, Young for a first goal, come on! Yes, it was definitely good to see Young bounce back after a very disappointing performance in the Saints game. And it just sucks that unfortunately she kicked two behinds before that goal, which means she could have had a multi-goal game if she was lucky. But speaking about multi-goal games, we have to talk about Indy Tahau and kicking a career-best 4 goals. And now she has a potential genuine run at the league's leading goal kicker. She's only 2 goals behind Sydney's Chloe Malloy, who's in first. And has kicked multiple goals per game and been one of our main goal kickers. I think she's kicked 2 goals in multiple fourth quarters. She has definitely been a real solid talent forward, and it's just been such a great story, along with Young, obviously, both coming off ACL injuries that left him unable to play last year. So, fingers crossed, Indy Tahau to potentially win the leading goal kicker and potentially an All-Australian selection. I really want at least one of the girls to get into the All-Australian team, and if Indy can get in the forwards, that will be amazing. The only real issue I have with Indy Tahau, and I think Lauren Arnell mentioned a bit, is it's just how down she often looks. Like, you're an amazing player, and I know Dowrick has this too. Like, both those players are so amazing. I just wish they would, appreciate the amount of amazing stuff they do and just celebrate with the players. But instead, just look down all the time. But look, at the end of the day, I would much rather a talented player than a player with, a positive attitude. So look, at the end of the day, I am perfectly fine with how Indy Tahau and Dowrick play. I just wish you could have a bit more of a smile, girls, because you guys are amazing. And I want you to really appreciate how amazing of players both of you are. Now, while I was super impressed with some of the goal kicking in that fourth quarter, obviously from Tahau, Young, and a few others, it does suck that, a lot of that early part of the game was really bad. Like, the first quarter was just really disappointing, and that the start of that second quarter was horrendous. Probably the worst we have played all year, and that might even be including that fourth quarter against St Kilda. Like, we were just missing handballs, the kicks were just going nowhere, and it's in some respects a miracle that the Bulldogs didn't kick a huge amount of goals in those first 2 quarters, because we could have found ourselves with a huge margin in the third quarter that we could never have climbed. I was so glad that we were 1 point up at 3-quarter time rather than potentially 3 goals down. It definitely did feel at the start of that game that the girls were still very much being spooked by how last week's game went, and it did seem like once we were finally able to click in that third quarter, we were able to definitely get back to our normal selves and obviously pull ahead for a big win. Now, while I was pretty disappointed with how the girls played in the first quarter, one player I do want to point out playing really well in the first quarter, Ella Heads. I didn't notice her really much on the night, but when I watched the replay afterwards, I noticed she was doing a really good job in intercepting a lot of the clearance kicks the Dogs were making. She was definitely a really solid backline, stopping, getting possession back for us, and then, proceeding to do another attack. It's a shame we unfortunately blew those attacks, but she was definitely really solid in the early game. And once again, she's a very quiet operator, a bit like, obviously, 50-gamer Maria Maloney, who also had a decent game this day, but once again, she's a very, these silent operators in the back, but they obviously are what makes our team work, and you need those silent operators so you can have your Tahau's and Young kick their amazing goals. Obviously, outside of Heads, I think Goody and Woodland also had some really good games today in the midfield. Definitely, there were some of the 3 pillars that definitely got the team to get their mojo back, which allowed us to go on that tirade in the fourth quarter. And also, I want to mention, even though she didn't exactly set the game on fire, it's so fun watching Kirsty Lamb get goals against her own side. Yeah, that's always fun. That was just a nice goal to sort of end off an amazing fourth quarter. So, yeah, sorry if this is a bit of a quicker review than today. I obviously didn't have much time to write the review with all the travelling I was doing. But definitely, once again, it was fun to finally watch a game live and actually see a win this time, which was definitely very nice. And without further ado, let's look to next week as we have our 5:05 clash on the Saturday with the Brisbane Lions at Brighton Homes Arena in Ipswich. While at initial glance this game definitely looks like a write-off, I do want to point out the Lions have definitely been gettable this year. Obviously they lost to Hawthorn and they lost to Carlton, so I don't want to say this game is necessarily impossible. Obviously we have a big challenge as we try to make this last-ditch effort to try and make finals, but if the girls give it all we got, we might pull off a surprise win here. So until then, let's go Power!